Imagine being hunted, but by someone no one else can see. A threat with no face, no voice, no trace. In July of 1996, Blair Adams crossed borders, airports, highways, and entire cities, running from something he never named. And just hours before his death, he whispered 6 chilling words. "They're trying to kill me. I know it." This is the story of the man who saw danger coming long before anyone else believed it was real. Welcome to Uncuffed Mysteries. To understand what happened in Blair Adams' final week, we must begin with who he was. Blair Daniel Adams, 31 years old, from Surrey, British Columbia. A construction foreman, a quiet, friendly guy with a good job, good friends, and no history of violence, instability, or paranoia. He was sober. He was stable. And before July 1996, he was the last person anyone expected to spiral into fear. But in that first week of July, something broke inside him. Co-workers saw him withdraw. Friends noticed he was jumpy, distracted, constantly scanning the room. His mother said he looked like he'd been startled out of a nightmare that hadn't ended. Then one night, he arrived at her home, pale and shaking. He sat down, stared at the floor, and whispered, "I don't think I should tell you what's been happening to me." He never explained those words. They were the first sign that his mind or his world had turned on him. The following morning, Blair walked into his bank and did something completely out of character. He withdrew his life savings, tens of thousands in hard cash, gold bars, jewelry. He stuffed it all into a duffel bag as if trying to outrun a clock that was rapidly ticking down. Then, without a word to anyone, he drove to the Canadian-US border and tried to cross. Border agents later reported he was sweating, shaking, and visibly frightened. When asked why he was carrying so much money, Blair had no answer. They turned him away. For most people, being denied entry would slow them down, force them to reconsider. But Blair did the opposite. He panicked harder. Within hours, he drove to the Vancouver airport, abandoned his car, purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle, and took the shortest flight possible, barely 4 or 5 minutes. His actions no longer looked like travel. They looked like escape. From Seattle, he rented a car and crossed the border anyway, this time undetected. Over the next 48 hours, Blair drove thousands of kilometers south, barely stopping. From Washington to Oregon, Oregon to California. Then a sudden turn east through Nevada, Utah, Missouri, all the way to Knoxville, Tennessee. Why Knoxville? He had no connection there. No friends, no family, no business, nothing. Unless he was meeting someone or running from someone. Every gas station clerk he encountered described him the same way. Exhausted, paranoid, looking over his shoulder the whole time. By now, Blair had likely slept less than 5 hours in 4 days. His mind was unraveling, or the threat he feared was getting closer. When Blair finally arrived in Knoxville, his behavior became even more bizarre. He walked into a gas station mechanic's shop, complaining that his car wouldn't start, even though mechanics found nothing wrong with it. One employee said he just kept pacing, pacing, pacing. He was sweating like he'd run a marathon. Blair seemed terrified of staying still, as if motion itself was protecting him. After abandoning the car, he walked to a nearby Fairfield Inn, the motel where he would later be found dead. Security footage showed something chilling. At 7:37 p.m., Blair walked into the lobby. He kept turning around, scanning behind him, watching the parking lot through the glass doors. He paid for a room, but here's where things get strange. He never actually used it. He walked out of the lobby, keys in hand, and never went back inside. This detail has haunted investigators for decades. Why rent a room you never enter? Did he see someone? Hear something? Was he waiting for someone to follow him? From the motel, Blair vanished into the night. He wasn't seen again until the next morning. At 7:30 a.m. on July 11th, 2 workers arrived for a job at a nearby construction site. There, in the parking lot of the Fairfield Inn, they found a body. Blair was lying face down, half naked. His clothes were scattered around him in a perfect circle. His socks turned inside out, his shoes tossed yards away. His duffel bag full of cash, jewelry, and gold was dumped beside him. Nothing was stolen. Not a dollar, not a ring, not a coin. This was not a robbery. Police found no knife wounds, no bullet wounds, no signs of restraint. But Blair's body told a different story. He had massive internal injuries. His stomach ruptured, his intestines torn, his lips cut, his forehead bruised, his body covered in defensive wounds. The medical examiner said he appeared to have been beaten repeatedly, likely with a blunt object, but no weapon was ever found. And there were no footprints, no tire marks, no witnesses, just one disturbing clue. Inside Blair's hand was a single long strand of hair, not his. Someone else had been there. To this day, no one knows what Blair Adams was running from. But over the years, investigators, psychologists, and true crime researchers have narrowed it down to 4 major theories. Let's explore them from most likely to least. Theory 1. A psychotic break, most accepted by psychologists. Some experts believe Blair's final week was the result of an acute mental collapse, possibly triggered by stress, trauma, or undiagnosed bipolar disorder. His erratic travel, his paranoia, his inability to sleep, his heavy sweating, his pacing, his sudden flight across the continent, all match the signs of a psychotic episode. But there's one glaring problem. Psychotic breaks don't normally end in violent internal injuries, or torn clothes, or defensive wounds, and they don't explain the strand of hair found in his hand. If Blair died from an episode, someone else still had to be with him. Theory 2. He knew something or someone dangerous. Another theory suggests Blair was running from a real threat. Criminal associations, workplace conflict, or someone from his past who resurfaced. His mother once revealed Blair had been avoiding certain people around the time he died, but she would never name them. Investigators found no evidence he was involved in crime, but they didn't rule out the possibility of a pursuer. If someone was following him, Blair's frantic travel pattern makes sense. He was trying to confuse them, outrun them, lose them across borders and time zones. If this theory is true, then whoever killed him did it cleanly, quietly, without leaving a single trace. A professional? Theory 3. A random encounter turned violent. Some argue Blair simply crossed paths with the wrong stranger at the wrong time. But this theory collapses under one fact. Why weren't his valuables taken? A predator encountering a man carrying thousands in cash and gold wouldn't leave it behind, unless robbery was never the motive. Theory 4. Something supernatural or paranormal, least likely, but often mentioned. This theory comes mostly from online communities. Blair's behavior resembles classic, targeted individual symptoms. Fear of unseen watchers, rapid flight, belief that something non-physical is after you. Some insist the perfectly arranged circle of clothing is symbolic. Others claim the hair found in his hand changed lengths between reports. There is no evidence for any supernatural explanation, but people keep bringing it up because the case is so bizarre it barely feels real. So what really happened to Blair Adams? In his final hours, Blair was a man consumed by terror, his mind unraveling, or his pursuer closing in. He spent the last 6 days of his life running from something, or someone. The tragedy is this: Blair tried to ask for help. People saw he was terrified. People saw he wasn't sleeping. People saw he was pacing and sweating and rambling, but no one believed him. Whatever danger he felt real or imagined became a prophecy he couldn't escape. His death remains an unsolved riddle. A man seen running, fearing, fighting, and dying alone in a motel parking lot thousands of miles from home. 26 years later, we are still left with the same haunting question. What was Blair Adams running from? And why did it catch him? If this case left you questioning everything, then you're exactly where Blair's story always leaves us. Searching for answers in a maze that refuses to end. A man who feared something no one else could see. A journey across borders, highways, and cities. A death with no motive, no suspects, no explanation. Was he running from a real threat or from the shadows of his own mind? Maybe the truth died with him. Maybe someone else knows. Or maybe the world never listened closely enough. But one thing is certain. Blair Adams didn't spend his last days wandering without purpose. He was trying to escape something. And whether that danger lived outside him or inside him, it was powerful enough to push him thousands of miles away from home, to a parking lot in Knoxville, where his final breath slipped away, before anyone could help him. And today, nearly 3 decades later, his story still whispers the same unanswered question. What was Blair Adams really running from? And why did no one believe him? This has been Uncuffed Mysteries, where every mystery has a story and every story deserves to be told. If you want to uncover more real cases, more unanswered questions, more stories that stretch beyond the edge of explanation, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join us as we continue diving deeper into the world of the unexplained. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and remember, not every mystery is meant to stay solved. Uncuffed Mysteries, where every story is a clue, and every clue leads to the truth.